We hear this phrase, data ownership, thrown around all the time, right? But what if we've been focusing on the wrong word? Today, we're going to dig into an idea that's way more powerful, way more practical, data traceability. Let's get into it.
So, what does owning your data really mean? I mean, think about it. It sounds simple, but it's actually a super slippery concept. Is it like owning a car where you've got the title and the keys? Or maybe like owning a house with a deed and clear property lines? The thing is, with data, it's just not that simple. The more you try to pin it down, the fuzzier it gets.
And yeah, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's one thing to say you own something, but if you've got no way to prove it, no way to enforce that ownership, then what does it even mean? Is it anything more than just a nice idea?
And that right there, that leads us straight to the core of the problem, what we're calling the ownership illusion. It's this massive gap between the concept we all kind of like and the reality we're actually living in.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. Without some kind of system for verification, for proof, the whole idea of data ownership is, well, it's pretty hollow. It's like saying you own a piece of land, but the map's totally blank, and there are no fences. Sure, the claim exists, but it has zero real-world power.
But what if we've been asking the wrong question this whole time? What if instead of trying to fix ownership, the real answer lies in a totally different way of thinking? And that brings us to the flip side of this, the traceability solution.
Right, so instead of getting bogged down in this vague, kind of philosophical debate, a lot of innovators are asking a much better, much more practical question. And by the way, this whole idea we're talking about was inspired by the work of Codata. They're basically saying, hey, let's forget about ownership for a second and ask something we can actually answer. Is the data traceable? Can we prove where it came from?
And that, right there, is the essence of traceable data. It's all about creating a verifiable, think of it like a chain of custody for every piece of information. It's like a digital breadcrumb trail that you can follow for every single data point, all the way back to its original source. It's not about claiming, it's about proving the origin.
And when you put them side by side like this, the difference is it's stark. It really highlights the shift in thinking. Over here, you've got data ownership. It's vague, it's abstract. But over here, you've got data traceability. It's a concrete, verifiable system. It's the difference between just shouting, "This is mine," and actually being able to show the receipts, to prove exactly where it came from.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does a system like this actually work in the real world? Let's break down the mechanics.
Well, it really boils down to this super powerful but simple three-step process. First, you trace. Simple enough, right? You follow the information's journey all the way back to its origin. Step 2, isolate. Let's say you find something that looks a little off, an error, maybe even a manipulation. You can isolate that specific piece of data. And finally, step 3, verify. This is the amazing part. You can actually recompute the data from its source to check and confirm what is actually true.
So, yeah, a pretty straightforward process. But the implications? Oh, they're massive. Why is this shift from a philosophical idea to a practical system so incredibly important?
Well, it really all comes down to these three things. First, it empowers us. It gives anyone the ability to verify, to check the source of information for themselves. Second, it enables real accountability, because now you can pinpoint not just that something is wrong, but exactly where it went wrong. And, maybe most importantly, it establishes a real method for figuring out what's true, which in today's world is a pretty big deal.
So when you boil it all down, the big takeaway is this. Maybe the data revolution isn't really about ownership at all. Maybe it's about accountability. It's about building a world where information can't just, materialize out of thin air. It has to answer for where it came from.
And that kind of leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to chew on. In this age of deepfakes, of misinformation, of algorithms we don't understand, just imagine a world where every single piece of data has a verifiable story. If we could trace everything back to its origin, what truths and, what lies will we finally uncover?